Thank God, this incredible HFY masterpiece found you today. Witness the legend starting now. My name is Velric Thornskill, and I have worked at the Galactic Species Classification Bureau for 17 cycles of sorting through biological data, behavioral patterns, and evolutionary markers to determine where each species fits in the grand taxonomy of sentient life. I have classified over 2,000 species: predators, prey, symbionts, parasites, hive minds, music, singular, consciousness, collectives, you name it. I have filed it. Never, and I mean never, have I encountered a filing disaster quite like humanity. It started innocuously enough. A junior clerk named Binpix, bless his 6 hearts, was processing the initial contact reports from a species discovered on a backwater planet, music called Earth. The preliminary surveys noted that these creatures, humans, were bipedal, moderately sized, and showed remarkable affection towards smaller animals in their environment. They kept creatures called dogs and cats in their dwellings. Music fed them, groomed them, played with them, and even talked to them like they were children. Binpix, in his infinite wisdom, looked at this data and thought, well, if humans love taking care of smaller creatures, surely music, they would make excellent pets themselves. After all, they are social. They respond to positive reinforcement. They can be trained to perform music tasks, and they seem to enjoy companionship. The logic was sound if you ignored literally everything else about them. So he filed music, the paperwork, Class 7, domesticated companions, suitable for family environments, requires moderate exercise and social interaction, may become destructive. Music if bored. Estimated lifespan 70 to 90 cycles. Recommended diet consists of varied organic matter, showing surprising adaptability to different food sources. The paperwork went through 4 different departments. 4, not one person questioned music. To be fair, the supporting evidence looked convincing on paper. Humans had been observed engaging in what we call nurturing behaviors. And GT, music, and GT, they formed strong emotional bonds. They demonstrated pack loyalty. They even responded positively to treats and rewards, much like the domesticated animals they music themselves kept. The Classification Bureau approved it. The Galactic Trade Council rubber stamped music it. Within 6 standard months, humans were being marketed across 4 sectors as the newest, most fashionable companion species. Exotic origin story, adorable bipedal locomotion, and those expressive faces that could convey dozens of emotions. The marketing practically wrote itself. Then the first shipment arrived at our xenobiology research station. I was assigned to intake processing, which meant I got to meet the specimens. Music, sorry, individuals before anyone else. Standard procedure dictated a basic physical examination, behavioral assessment, and habitat requirement evaluation. Simple stuff. I had done this hundreds of times. The transport carrier landed on docking bay 7 at approximately 3rd moonrise. I remember, because I had just finished my morning stimulant beverage and was looking forward to a routine day of paperwork. The cargo manifest listed 1 human, female, age 26 Earth years, named Mona Reeves, in excellent health and cleared for interactive study, music. When the containment unit opened, I got my first look at a real living human. She was smaller than I expected. I stand at roughly 8 ft in my natural posture, and she barely reached 6 ft. Her skin was a warm brown music color. Her hair was dark and pulled back in what I would later learn was called a ponytail, and her eyes were this striking amber shade that seemed to track everything in the room simultaneously. She wore simple clothing, blue pants made music of some durable fabric, and a gray upper garment with text I could not read. She smiled at me, showed her teeth. In my species, that music is a threat. Display. In humans, apparently it means hello, hey there, she said. And GT, music. And GT, her voice surprisingly deep and calm. You must be my handler, Mona Reeves. Nice to meet you, handler, she called me her handler, like I was supposed to be in charge of her. The irony would become apparent soon enough. I consulted my data pad, pulling up the standard introduction protocol for new companion species. Greetings, human Mona. I am classification specialist Velric Music. Thornskill, I will be overseeing your integration into our research station. Please follow me to your habitat, where we will review behavioral expectations and daily music routines. She nodded, still smiling, and followed me without hesitation, compliant, friendly, eager to please. Every single checkbox on the companion species evaluation form was getting marked positive. She even asked questions about the station, showed interest in the other species present, and commented on how excited she was to be there. Textbook domesticated behavior. I should have known better. I should have questioned why a species capable of space travel, even primitive space travel, would be classified as pets. I should have wondered why her eyes kept scanning for exits, why her posture remained balanced and ready despite her relaxed demeanor, why her questions were all information gathering rather than simple curiosity. But I did not. None of us did. We saw what we expected to see because the paperwork told us what to look for. That was our first mistake. The second mistake was introducing her to Kragoth. Mona settled into her assigned habitat with disturbing ease. The quarters we provided were spacious, music by companion species standards, roughly 20 ft by 20 ft, with sleeping platforms, enrichment activities, and viewing panels that displayed calming nature scenes from various planets. We even included some items from Earth based on the cultural database, things like books, a music playing device, and some sort of exercise equipment she called weights. She thanked us profusely, then proceeded to rearrange everything, not in a destructive way, mind you. She moved the sleeping platform to face music, the door, positioned the furniture so she had clear sight lines to all entry points, placed the weights near the entrance where she could, and I, quote, grab them quickly if needed. When I asked why she needed quick access to exercise equipment, she just laughed and said it was habit, right. Over the next few days, I compiled what I professionally music termed as observational notes, but what were actually a growing list of things that did not make sense for a pet species. Music. Observation 1. Mona woke up at the same time every morning, regardless of the station's artificial day-night cycle, not gradually, music like most species, instantly, one moment asleep, the next moment alert, eyes scanning the room before she even sat up. Observation 2. She exercised a lot, not the Playful romping we expected from companion species but structured. Intense physical training, push-ups, pull-ups on the door frame, those weights lifted in precise repetitions, and something she called shadow boxing. That looked suspiciously like combat. Practice observation 3, she was mapping music the station, casually, conversationally but definitely. Mapping every time I escorted her to the communal areas she asked about. Corridor layouts, emergency exits, power systems and security music protocols. When I mentioned this seemed like unusual curiosity for a companion, she smiled that tooth-showing smile and said, "Music humans were naturally inquisitive." Observation 4. Other species were music, nervous around her. Not scared exactly but wary. The Quilnari, who are basically giant rabbit analogues and natural prey animals, kept their distance. The hexapoids, normally aggressive and territorial, gave her space in the dining facility. Even Morthax, our station's head of security, and a decorated veteran of 3 wars, watched her with what I can only describe as professional respect, but I dismissed all of it. The paperwork said music humans were domestic companions. The paperwork was official. The paperwork had been approved by 4 departments and 2 councils. Clearly I was overthinking things. Then there was Kragoth. Kragoth the Rendered earned his title during the Krill suppression campaign, where he personally dismantled 47 enemy combatants in close quarters combat. He stood 9 ft tall, weighed roughly 600 lb, and had natural bone plating that could deflect most small arms fire. His species, the Urgalax, were known across the galaxy as enforcers, mercenaries, and general-purpose muscle for anyone who could afford them. He was also an enormous jerk. Kragoth worked station security, which meant he mostly stood around looking intimidating and occasionally broke up minor disputes between researchers. He took particular pleasure in bullying smaller species, pushing them around in corridors, music, taking their food in the dining facility, generally making everyone miserable while staying just within the boundaries of acceptable behavior. When Mona arrived, he noticed immediately. "Music? What is that tiny thing?" he rumbled. During her first visit to the communal dining music area, his voice sounded like rocks grinding together in a mudslide. "That is Mona," I explained, keeping my tone professional. "She is a human new companion species. Please provide appropriate music space." Kragoth laughed. It sounded like a garbage disposal eating silverware. "Companion, you mean pet? We are keeping pets on a research station now." Mona, to her credit, ignored him completely. She collected her meal, some sort of grain and vegetable combination she had requested, and sat at an empty table. She ate calmly, methodically. And GT, music. And GT, her eyes occasionally flicking up to track Kragoth's position without turning her head. She continued eating, did not acknowledge him, did not show fear, did not show anything that should have been music. My warning: prey species freeze or flee, predators posture or attack. Mona did neither. She simply continued her meal like Kragoth was not worth her attention, and that, as it turns out, made him very, very angry. The incident happened on Mona's music 5th day at the station. I was in the dining facility finishing my afternoon nutrition intake when Kragoth decided he had enough of being ignored by something he considered beneath him. Mona was sitting alone reading something on a data pad we had provided for her. Entertainment, she had a cup of that bitter stimulant drink humans called coffee, and she looked perfectly content. Peaceful even. Kragoth approached her table with that swagger he always had. The walk of someone who had never lost a physical confrontation and did not plan. Music to start. 3 of his security team buddies followed behind him, all grinning with anticipation of whatever humiliation he had planned. Pet, Kragoth said, looming over her table, I am talking to you. In my culture, when a superior addresses you, you respond. Mona took a sip of her coffee, did not look up. In my culture, when someone's being a jackass, we ignore them. Dining facility went silent, completely. Utterly silent. 23 beings from 12 different species all stopped mid-bite to watch what would happen next. Kragoth's bone plates flushed dark purple, a sign of rage in his species. What did you just call me? I started to stand up, started to intervene. Music. This was going to get bad. Kragoth outweighed her by at least 500 lb. He could crush her skull with one hand. I had seen him bend music, steel support beams during combat demonstrations, but I was too slow. Kragoth reached for her. Fast, faster than something his size should move. His massive hand shot out to grab her by the throat, to lift her up and show everyone what happened when you disrespected Kragoth the Render. What happened next took approximately 3 seconds. I have watched the security footage. 47 music times trying to understand it. Not away toward him. She slid off her chair and inside his reach. Before his hand could close, her left hand caught his wrist. Her right hand grabbed his elbow, and then she dropped her weight and rotated. Kragoth, all 9 FT and 600 lb of him, flipped over her shoulder like he was a training dummy. Like he was made of foam and air instead of muscle and bone plating. He hit the floor so music hard that the deck plating cracked. The entire station felt it, but she was not done. Before he could recover, before he could process what had just happened, Mona had his arm. She planted her foot against his ribs. Music held his wrist with both hands and pulled while pushing with her leg. Pop. The sound echoed through the dining facility. Kragoth's shoulder separated from its socket with a wet, meaty sound that made my digestive system clench. He screamed. Kragoth the Rendered, veteran of 3 wars, terror of the station, screamed like a juvenile who had touched a hot surface for the first time. Mona stood up, brushed off her pants, and looked down at him. You should probably get that looked at, she said casually. Then she picked up her coffee cup, checked that none had spilled, and took another sip. 3 seconds. That is how long it took for a 5FT6 human classified as a companion music species to completely dismantle one of the most dangerous beings on the station. The chaos started immediately. Kragoth's security team rushed forward, but Mona had already stepped back to a neutral position, hands visible, posture relaxed. She was not threatening anyone else. She was just standing there, drinking coffee like she had not just turned our resident monster into a whimpering pile of dislocated joints. Medical emergency in dining facility. Alpha, I heard myself saying into my communicator, my voice somehow steady, despite the fact that my brain was screaming. Kragoth is injured, severe shoulder dislocation, possibly a music trauma. Morphax, head of security, arrived within minutes. He took One look at Kragoth writhing on the floor, then at Mona standing calmly nearby, then back at Kragoth. Explain. He said. He tried to music grab me. Mona said simply, I defended myself. Basic joint manipulation. He will be fine once medical relocates the shoulder. Might want to ice it though. Basic joint music manipulation. She said it like she had just described how to open a door. The medical team arrived with a hover stretcher. It took 4 of them to lift Kragoth onto it. He was still screaming, clutching his dislocated music shoulder, his bone plates now a pale, sickly color that indicated shock in his species. As they wheeled him past Mona, he looked at her with something I had never seen in music, his eyes before. Fear, pure, undiluted primal fear. Mona gave him a little wave. Feel better soon, she said cheerfully. After they left, Morphax turned to me. Well, Rick, your report said humans were classified as companion species, class 7. Domesticated music. Suitable for families. That is what the paperwork says. Yes, I replied, my voice music barely above a whisper. The paperwork is wrong. Yes, I agreed, watching Mona return to her table and her data pad like nothing had happened, like she had not just shattered our entire understanding of her species with 3 seconds of music. Casual violence. Yes, I am starting to suspect that might be the case. Around the dining facility, beings were slowly returning to their meals, but everyone kept glancing at Mona, the small human, the pet, the creature who had just dislocated a monster, like it was a typing. Urgent classification review required. The emergency meeting convened 6 hours after the incident. Station Director Quilmara, a Zinthari with impressive administrative credentials and absolutely zero combat experience, sat at the head of the conference table, looking like she had aged 10 cycles in a single day. Morphax was there, his mandibles clicking in what I recognized as agitation. 3 xenobiology specialists, 2 legal consultants, 1 very nervous-looking junior clerk named Binpix, who had started stress molting the moment he entered the room, and Mona sitting calmly in a chair that was too large for her, sipping another cup of that coffee. Let us begin, Quilmara said, her vocal synthesizer translating her species' natural ultrasonic speech into music, standard galactic common. We have a significant problem, Mona. You were classified as a class 7 domesticated companion, yet music you just hospitalized our head security enforcer with injuries that our medical team describes as, quote, disturbingly efficient. He tried to choke music. Me, Mona said with a shrug. Where I come from, that is assault. I responded. Proportionally. Morphax leaned forward. You dislocated his shoulder, and under 3 music seconds, I could have dislocated both shoulders and both knees in under 5 seconds, Mona replied matter-of-factly. I showed restraint. The room went very quiet. Oh, we are all those things, Mona agreed. Humans love pets. We are very social. We bond intensely with other beings. We will adopt literally anything. Music, and call it family. I once knew a guy who had an emotional support alligator named Chompers. Then how? Quilmara asked slowly. Do you also have the capability to neutralize a trained Urgalax warrior in 3 seconds? Mona tilted her head, genuinely seeming to consider the question. Because being friendly and being harmless are 2 Completely music. Different things, humans are social. Because we are pack hunters. And GT, music. And GT, we are nurturing because our offspring require years of intensive care to reach maturity. We bond with other species because our evolutionary advantage was cooperation and pattern recognition, and we can fight because, well, our planet tried to kill us for roughly 200,000 years and we are still here. One of the xenobiology specialists, a Quilnari music named Teshka, pulled up a hollow screen. I have been reviewing Earth's ecological data since the incident. Mona, your planet is classified as a Class 4 death world. Class 4 seems low, Mona said. We have hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, droughts, floods, and weather patterns that can shift from survivable to lethal in hours. Also, everything on Earth is either poisonous, venomous, or wants to eat you, sometimes all three, but you evolved there. Teshka said, her long ears flat against her head in distress. You are a native music species to a death world. Sure, Mona agreed, humans are endurance predators. We can run for hours without stopping. Our cardiovascular systems are over-engineered for our body size. We sweat to regulate temperature, which means we can function in environments that would cook most species. We heal fast, adapt music faster, and our pattern recognition is so good we can predict behavior from minimal data. She paused. Also, we throw things really accurately at high velocities, which is apparently unique in the galaxy. Morphax made a choking sound. You are telling me that your entire species are persistence hunters from a death world with enhanced healing, temperature regulation, and music ranged attack capabilities. I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds intimidating, Mona said. But yeah, basically, Binpix had gone completely still, his molting accelerating. I classified apex predators as pets, he whispered. I classified death world persistence hunters as suitable companions for children. To be fair, Mona said kindly, we do make excellent companions. Music. Humans have this thing where we will protect what we love with absolutely suicidal music determination. You want a species that will bond with your family and defend them to the death. Humans are great for that. We just also need proper socialization, music, and understanding of acceptable behavioral limits. That is what you say about dangerous animals, I said faintly. Exactly, Mona beamed. See, you get it. Quilmara pulled up another screen. I have been receiving reports from other stations, music, and vessels that acquired humans under the companion species classification. Station Gamma 7 reports their human named Jackson Tors stopped a hull breach by manually sealing a pressure door that requires 4 beings to operate. He held it closed for 6 minutes until repair teams arrived. He fractured 3 bones in the process and refused medical treatment until everyone else was safe. Sounds like Jackson, Mona said fondly. Good guy. Transport music vessel Meridian's Dawn reports their human Rebecca Chen identified a sabotage attempt on the navigation systems that their own engineers missed. Morthax added, scrolling through his own data pad. She apparently fixed it by, quote, percussive maintenance, end quote, which I am told means she hit it with a wrench until it worked correctly. Classic Rebecca, Mona nodded. Approvingly, Frontier Station Kepler. Reports they're human, Marcus Williams. Accidentally entered a restricted zone. Containing aggressive wildlife samples. Teshka Reed, her voice climbing in. Pitchy. She emerged 20 minutes later. Having, quote, made friends with the murder lizards, end quote, he named. They respond to their names, they follow his commands. And GT, music. And GT. He trained apex predators from 3 different worlds in under 20 minutes. Oh, I love Marcus, Mona said excitedly. He sent me pictures. The murder lizards are adorable. I put my head in my hands. All 4 of them we have distributed. Hundreds of humans across the galaxy as pets. Companion species benthics. Corrected weekly, we gave apex predators. From a death world to families with children, I continued, and they are probably having a great time, Mona said. Humans love kids. We are very protective of younglings. Any human placed with a family is going to treat those children like music, their own pack. Nothing will harm them while a human is around. That is not reassuring, Kumara said. Why not? Mona asked, genuinely confused. You wanted companions who are loyal, protective, intelligent, and adaptable. You got exactly that. You just also got the bonus feature. Dislocated Kragoth's shoulder. The bonus feature stopped Kragoth music from assaulting me, Mona corrected. Look, humans have a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. We are friendly, right? Up until you threaten us or something we care about, then we become very unfriendly very quickly. And GT, music. And GT, Morthax looked at me. We need to reclassify immediately. Agreed, I said. To what? Kumara asked. Death world. Predator, restricted species, potential. Music, threat level. Mona raised her hand like a student in a classroom. Can I make a suggestion? We all stared at her. How about humans? Highly social. Cooperative species, excellent for family integration and protection. Services, requires clear behavioral boundaries and appropriate socialization, do not threaten or harm. Generally friendly unless provoked. Classified as companions with security clearance. The silence stretched for a long moment. Music. That is somehow worse, I said finally. But accurate, Mona said cheerfully. She was right. That was the truly horrifying part. She was absolutely right. The bureaucratic panic that followed our meeting was spectacular in its incompetence. Director Kumara immediately contacted the Galactic Species Classification Bureau headquarters, which triggered an emergency review committee, which triggered a diplomatic incident when the human ambassador found out her species had been classified as pets, which triggered a media frenzy across music. 6 sectors. My supervisor, senior classifier Rentok, called me personally. Velric, do you understand what music you have done? Do you comprehend the magnitude of this disaster? I did not file the original classification. I pointed out that was Bentix. Bentix is a junior clerk. You approved the station music intake. You had 5 days to notice something was wrong. In my defense, I said weakly, she was very convincing as a companion species. She dislocated Kragoth like he was a toy. Yes, music, that did seem unusual in retrospect. Rentok made a sound like a deflating air bladder. We are attempting damage control. The official statement is that humans are getting reclassified due to, quote, expanded behavioral assessment data, end quote. We are not admitting this was a music mistake. We are calling it an adjustment. Do you understand? You want me to lie? I want you to use diplomatic music, language. Rentalk corrected, tell everyone the classification is being refined based on new information. Do not under any circumstances admit we classified apex predators as domestic pets. Too late for that, I thought, but music said nothing. Mona found the whole situation hilarious. You should have seen the ambassador's face when she found out. She told me the next day. And GT, music. And GT, barely containing her laughter, she asked them to repeat the classification 3 times, then she started laughing so hard she could not breathe, then she got angry, then she laughed again. It was a whole emotional music trip. I am glad you find my career destruction amusing, I muttered. Oh, come on, Velric, she said, patting music my lower arm in what I assumed was meant to be comforting. This is hilarious. You guys literally looked at humans and thought, yes, perfect pets. Meanwhile, we are out there colonizing music, death worlds for fun and fighting wars against our own AI creations just to stay sharp. You fought wars against music, artificial intelligence several times. We keep making robots smarter than us and then acting surprised when they develop opinions. It is like our thing. I made another note on my data pad. Humans create existential threats. Recreationally, the Bureau tried to quietly recall all distributed humans for reclassification processing, music, which went about as well as expected. Turns out the families and individuals who had acquired humans did not want to give them back. They had bonded. Attachments had formed. Several humans refused to leave their assigned families, claiming they were happy and well treated. One human stationed with a Camera family on Station Proxima literally picked up one of the recall agents and carried him back to his ship, while explaining that the family's children needed him and he was not going anywhere. The agent filed a report, describing it as, quote, terrifying yet gentle, like being kidnapped by a very polite natural disaster. Then there was the incident in the recreation facility. Mona had been using the station gym, which was theoretically designed to accommodate multiple species with varying strength levels. She was doing something called deadlifts music, which involved picking up progressively heavier weights from the floor. I walked in to find her lifting roughly 400 lb for repetitions while humming a tune from her home world. Mona, I said carefully, that weight is marked for ergolac strength training. Oh, I know, she said, setting it down with perfect control. I am working up to the Krinthac music weights next. Those look fun. The Krinthac weights are for a species music that naturally benches 2000 lb. Careful, she said, careful music, while casually lifting weights meant for species 3 times her size. I filed another report. Human strength levels inconsistent with body mass, possible density anomaly, music or muscle efficiency beyond known biological parameters. The response music from headquarters was brief. Stop filing reports. You are making it worse. My career was over. 17 cycles of perfect classification music. Records destroyed by one species that smiled while breaking fundamental assumptions. Music about biology, behavior, and what constituted a suitable pet. That night I sat in my quarters and seriously considered early retirement. Maybe I could become a gardener. Plants did not have confusing behavioral patterns. Plants did not dislocate security enforcers. Plants did not lift weights designed for species 4 times their mass while humming cheerfully. My communicator chimed. Message from Mona. Hey Velric, some of us are getting together for movie night. Want to join? And GT, music. And GT, we are watching something called John Wick. It is about a guy and his dog. Very wholesome. I looked at the message. For a long music time. Then I made the worst decision of my life and accepted the invitation. John Wick was not wholesome. John Wick was a 2-hour documentary on why you should never ever threaten something a human cares about. The titular character's dog was killed, and he responded by systematically dismantling an entire criminal organization with firearms, vehicles, and at one point a pencil. This is your idea of wholesome entertainment? I asked Mona as the credits rolled. The dog part at the beginning is sad, she admitted, but the rest is very cathartic. Shows what happens when you mess with something humans love. This is a horror music film from the villain's perspective, I said flatly. Exactly, she beamed like I had just understood something profound. 3 weeks later, the new classification came through. Official galactic designation for humans, Class 2 Cooperative Apex Species, Subsection Protective Companions, with the longest list of behavioral footnotes and warnings I had ever seen attached to any species profile. The key points included highly intelligent, exceptional pattern recognition, extreme loyalty to chosen pack groups, capable of significant violence when threatened or when defending others, requires social interaction and mental stimulation, becomes dangerous if bored or poorly socialized, suitable for family integration with proper introduction music. Protocols do not threaten under any circumstances. Basically, we had gone from calling them pets to admitting music. They were sentient weapons that really enjoyed hugs. Mona's departure date arrived faster than I expected. Music. The human ambassador had negotiated proper diplomatic status for all humans in galactic music space, which meant Mona was being reassigned to an actual job befitting her capabilities. Something in security music consulting. Naturally, I met her at the docking bay to say goodbye, so she said, shouldering her pack with ease. Got any advice for the next human who shows up? Do not assume anything, I said. Music immediately. Do not trust the paperwork. Do not think you understand them even when you think you do. And definitely do not let anyone like Kragoth try to intimidate them. Good advice. She extended her hand in that human gesture I had learned meant friendship and respect. I took it carefully. Her grip was firm but controlled. Music. For what it is worth, Velric, you are a good guy. You actually listened when evidence contradicted your assumption. That is rare in any species. I nearly got you classified as a pet permanently. But you didn't. You fixed it. She smiled. Music, and this time I understood it was genuine warmth, not a threat display. Humans respect people who can admit mistakes and correct them. You are going to do fine. Kragoff still will not look at me without flinching. I said. Kragoff learned an important lesson about consequences. Music. He will be fine too. Shoulder healed perfectly. Medical sit. She boarded her transport, and I watched it leave, taking with it the most educational and terrifying 3 weeks of my career. That evening I sat down to write my final report on the human classification incident, not the sanitized version for public records, but the real one, the one that would be filed in the Bureau's classified archives as a warning to future generations of classifiers. I titled it On the Danger of Assumptions, or How We Nearly Started an Interstellar Incident by Calling Apex Predators Adorable. The conclusion was simple. Humans are not pets, they are not even really companions. Music, in the way we understood the term, they are partners, allies, friends if you earn it, and absolutely music, terrifying enemies if you threaten what they protect. They are loyal to a fault, creative to the point of insanity, and capable of both remarkable gentleness and shocking violence, depending music on what the situation requires. They are, in other words, exactly the kind of species music you want on your side and never ever want to underestimate. We call them domestic pets. Mona dislocated a monster like it was a toy, and somehow, impossibly, we all survived our own stupidity. My career survived barely. Ben Pax got reassigned to file management, where he cannot classify anything more dangerous than office supplies. Krygoff transferred music to a mining station, where the only thing he has to intimidate is rock formations. And me, I got promoted, apparently successfully, identifying and correcting a catastrophic classification error, even one you partially approved, looks good on performance music reviews. My first official act was updating the human classification file with a single addition to the behavioral music notes. Friendly does not mean harmless. Remember this, your life may depend on it. 3 months later, I received a message from Mona, a photo of her at her new job, standing between 2 armed security music personnel, all of them smiling. The caption read, "Teaching self-defense classes to station security. They are learning about joint locks today. Wish them luck. Miss you, Valric." I looked at that photo for a long music time, then filed it in my personal records under a new folder I created specifically for this purpose. I labeled it Humans, Ongoing Study in Cosmic Irony, because that is what they are. The species that love so fiercely they will adopt anything. The species that fight so effectively they can dismantle threats in seconds. Music, the species we called pets, and the truly terrifying part, they think this is funny. They are out there right now. Music integrated into galactic society, making friends, protecting their chosen families, and occasionally reminding everyone why underestimating them is a mistake you only make once. The universe is enormous and full of wonders. Humans are definitely one of them, just not the kind of wonder you can keep music in a habitat with enrichment toys. Trust me on this one.